Okay, so here's the first part of a tutorial on TrichordSpace, interactive software that Paul Riker and myself are designing for exploration of trichordal pitch class space. And first thing I want to do is just some basic controls of the software, starting with how you turn it on. If you're using Windows, you're going to see something a little different than this. When you download the application, you'll see something TrichordSpace with a bunch of numbers that refers to the version .exe. You can double-click that, and the software will open up. In addition to that, you should have a file called command list or something similar that has a list of all of the different types of commands that you can type in to control the software, and we're going to get to this over time. On Mac, you'll just see an application file just like this. So I'm going to double-click on that, and it should open up the application. You'll get two windows. The one on the right is a window into a virtual 3D space, inside of which are placed all the trichords. And I'll come back to that in a second. On the left, you've got, this is where you actually can type in commands and change the look of the space and visualize networks and so on. But the right side of the space is for looking around and for navigation. So let's talk about navigation first. The way the space is designed, you've got trichords, which are in this space considered to be, the numbers are equate to XYZ coordinates in the 3D space. So if we look down the right axis, the red axis, you can see that the first member of the trichord increases 1, 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 3, 0, 0, 4, 0, 0, and 0, 0, and so on. If I look down the blue axis, this is the Z, and that's the third member of the trichord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. If I look up, then I've got 1, 2, 3 in the second member of the trichord, and if I look down, it goes down. And this space infinitely wraps, actually. So to fly around, well, first, I haven't explained how you look around. It's very easy. You take your mouse and you click on the window. When you drag to the right, your head rotates to the right. When you drag to the left, your head rotates to the left. Drag up, head rotates up. Drag down, head rotates down, and so on. So you use your mouse and click and drag on the window to look around. And while you're doing that, you use keys to fly through the space. And we've used traditional kind of keyboard navigation in 3D games. Typical of 3D games on the computer. The W key moves forward relative to wherever you're looking. The S key moves back. The A key moves left. The D key moves right. So W, forward. S is back. A is left. D is right. And it's relative to wherever you're looking. So if I look over here, look up, and at a diagonal kind of, and I press W, I'm going to fly up. Now if I use my mouse to look around, I've got the W key pressed, so I'm flying straight. I'm always going forward relative to wherever my head is pointing. And right is the same way. If I turn my head as I turn right, it's kind of like I'm moving in a circle while looking at the center of the circle. There are two other controls that are useful that are kind of like helicopter controls. The R and the E key. R goes up, straight up, and E goes straight down. You can't really achieve straight up by pressing W because I don't allow you to look actually straight up. It's always slightly at an angle. So R goes straight up, and the nice thing about R and E is that you can freely look around with your mouse, and it doesn't affect anything about where you're moving. You're literally just going straight up and down. And combinations of these keys go diagonal. So if I press forward and to the right, W and right, it goes diagonal. Here's right, here's forward and right. It goes diagonal. So, and you've got combinations of all the different keys like that. So that's navigating in the space. Now, if you want to fly fast, you've got two different speeds. By default, you're flying slow, and if I press the space bar, it toggles me into a faster speed. You can actually customize these speeds, and I'll show you how to do that later. And I want you to notice that the space wraps now. So if I fly along the Z-axis, you'll see I'm actually flying down, decreasing on the Z-axis. When I get to 0, 0, 0, it wraps back around to 0, 0, 11, 10, and so on, right? So the space wraps infinitely by default. You can turn that on and off, and we'll talk about that later. So those are the basic features for navigating the space.